What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Wait, What Are We Talking About podcast, episode 157. My name is Brett, aka Enigma9011. You can catch this podcast live over on twitch.tv/Enigma9011 every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern. You can join the chat and the discussion over there if you'd like to, but if you can't catch it live, that's A-OK. Go over to YouTube and podcast services the very next week, where it's broken out topic by topic and put as one big video in MP3 for your amusement on the following Friday. Last but not least, if you want to support us and help out the podcast any way you can, reviews, comments, shares, it all helps out. It may seem small, but it does help the channel grow. So whatever you can do is very much appreciated. Today, we're back from our hiatus, our holiday break. Happy New Year to everyone. Welcome to 2023. You're living in the future now. We got quite a bit to chat about. You might have noticed we missed last week's episode. I didn't get a chance to record. I was initially going to with this topic and kind of had more of a, I guess, negative mindset or, negative mindset, down mindset on what I was going to talk about. And it was just going to be, honestly just how I was feeling about some things. But towards the end of the break, I was feeling a bit better about some stuff. So I thought that would be a better way to kind of reflect or do the topic. So we're going to be doing that today along with 3 other topics. So maybe a long one. Hopefully you're ready for that. Or they'll be short and sweet. We'll have to see. So to kick off today's podcast, or this episode's podcast, we're going to be talking about the new year. What do I want to achieve in the new year? Just like everybody's doing. What are your New Year's resolutions? What are your goals? New year, new me. Not doing that exactly, but want to talk about the new year and then kind of reflect a little bit on at least the end of 2022, what I was kind of going through, and it's, I guess, still going through. So let's start with that, if we were going to start at least on the down slope and then kind of build up towards the end of the topic or as we go. So let's just address it. December, not particularly a great month, I would say, in my books. Nothing terrible happened, thank goodness. But it was just a very negative month in terms of, I guess you could say, mental health or just how I was feeling. Just a lot of things going on, or at least I would think are going on. Maybe just like I was overthinking stuff, or kind of emotions were running wild, and I didn't feel great. Didn't feel like a holiday mood, didn't feel like we're building to anything that like was looking forward to, and it just felt down. And this was in a lot of different avenues. Once again, I think it was just a lot of me overthinking things, or you have a thought of one thing and then it leads to this whole other path of nonsense, stupidity, anxiety, stress, whatever you want to call it. And it wasn't great. Clearly. So leading towards the end of the month, it didn't feel like that holiday time, and I just was not happy with things. Kind of was shutting people down, not really wanting to connect to people, almost burning down some bridges in multiple avenues, and thank God that did not happen, and I'm very fortunate and glad for those bridges to still be there and that support system to still be there. But yeah, it just wasn't good. So towards the end of the month, we took the break. Obviously, we wanted to, try and rest up, try and relax, especially with the holidays. Obviously, everybody's doing their own thing. So it wasn't going to be a good thing to, okay, let's push forward and keep streaming during that time or whatever. So I was supposed to go on a trip over this break, and I decided not to. I did not think it was going to be the right move for, 1, myself, and 2, for everyone else. I just thought I was going to be too negative in the situation and just cause more bad than good, I guess, in that situation. So as for holidays this year, felt very off. 1, obviously not being in that mindset of, it's the holiday season, but, it was alone. It was a seclusion. And I'm not, don't take this as I'm blaming anybody. I did it to myself. And I felt it was the right thing to do, because whether it was going on the trip and spending time with, the family over there, or if it was staying home and spending time with family here, I just thought I would be a whole bundle of negativity and just not... I would bring everybody down. It wouldn't be great. It wouldn't be a healthy time for anybody. So the feelings I've been feeling or were feeling during December was just a lot of stress of not being able to do what I wanted to do. I didn't feel like I myself was being productive in certain avenues, and that was really getting me down. And I don't know. I talked about it in a few podcasts ago when we came back from our summer break. Just once again, the overthinking everything, and just there's no barrier for patience. So small things just for some reason set me off, and it's dumb things. It's like, oh, so and so is complaining about this, or this thing's not going the way it should, and then I just get angry. And I know from a rational standpoint, you shouldn't be getting angry at these things. Why are you getting angry? And then it's the whole argument of like it just keeps escalating because I'm like angry at that, then angry at myself for being angry, and then it's the whole back and forth, and it builds and builds and builds. So I thought, best case scenario, I should just cut everything out and not throw that at anybody, whether because I was feeling that way or not, or doing something without intending it to ruin a relationship or, cause any harm or malice, like, because that's not what I actually want. It's just stupidly how I would have acted or reacted to something. So anyways, I thought seclusion was the best route, and it sucked because that's not, at least usually around this time of year, that's not how it should be, right? You should be hanging out with your family or your friends, loved ones, whoever you do celebrate with or spend that time with, and it should be a positive time. I know this holidays can be stressful for a whole nother bag of reasons, but ideally the messaging or the theming of this time of year, positive, right? So anyway, sorry, I'm kind of rambling, I feel. So decided seclusion, and I decided I'm going to try and reset myself and get back to a position of where I feel myself, I'm heading in a positive direction. Things are going the way that I want them to. So what did I do during the break? Well, as we'll talk about in future podcasts, there were some fun things I did, surprisingly enough, or at least things I did to kind of reset the, how do I want to phrase it or say this? The things I did for fun to relax. I guess that's just one way to put it. So I did those things, played some games, watched some movies, relaxed, slept in, those kind of things. And then on the other side of the coin, I really tried to hunker down and work on myself and things that I felt like I had slacked on or fell behind on this past year, of things like projects I wanted to work on or things I said I would do or whatever it is. And granted, the list was a lot, as I tend to do with just anything. It's just like, it's task after task after task after task. And while I guess it's a good thing and a bad thing, it's a good thing to have those things that you want to do. It's also a bad thing because then you never feel accomplished. And I wrote everything down, and I will say, obviously, we did not get everything done on that list, but it felt productive and a positive enough experience that by the end of the holiday break, I feel like I'm in a much better place right now. And circling back to the relationship standpoint of like, I'm very happy to have those support systems. I feel like those are back on track and back in a positive light. It was a little bit rough with some conversations, regardless of the party. But I think in the end it worked out, and I think now I feel in a better place than I did with them. a lot of laughs being shared, a lot of good, healthy conversations being had from every angle, and I'm very fortunate to have that. So through those, I feel way more relaxed. I do not think I'm 100%, for sure. Definitely not. It's not just going to, be a flick of a switch and everything's back to normal, back to, the standard I guess I want myself to be at. I realize there's still a lot that I need to do, both internally and then things I could do, I guess, in my day-to-day routine to improve that or make it better, from a mental standpoint, a physical standpoint, spiritual standpoint, whatever angle you would like to take it at. There's still a lot to do, and I'm looking forward to trying to keep that positive change going as we progress. Towards the end of the trip, I felt a little bit of guilty because, once again, I had not completed everything on the list. I think I've found a healthy way to kind of remind myself, like, just mentally, that check of, like, it's a process. Once again, it's not going to be a night and day difference or flick a switch and everything's better. Be patient with yourself and keep it up. That steady progress over time will help things, and not just let's change everything. So I think having a healthy conversation with myself in that aspect, I was able to do that later on in the vacation time and kind of keep myself in a balance. So I think maintaining that was a good change and a good thing to kind of follow up on. I've talked about it numerous times outside of podcasts and off a stream of, like, just a exercise routine. While I haven't started anything yet, I think I'll be trying to start something this week, whether it's just going for, doing more of a walk, or I've humored the idea of Taekwondo and going back to martial arts. Maybe that would help with the patience thing and the anger is actually physically hitting stuff. Because you can't do that, regularly, or at least that outlet's not there. But we'll see in that regard, how that goes. And then, yeah, just it's been a lot more positive interactions, I feel, since having those harder conversations with Lady, with my parents, with some friends, of just, like, reaffirming their support when it didn't feel like it was there. Not because they were doing anything wrong. It was just my processing of it, I guess you could say. And how I was overthinking things or how I was feeling. So, yeah, conversations and interactions with them over the break, while I may not have fully delved into it with all of them, definitely felt in a better direction. And this weekend, for example, we had a family gathering, and I think that went very, very well. There were still a few times where, once again, I recognize this is a process. I felt I had reached that level of patience once again, but I think for the most part I was able to wrangle it in. There's still areas to improve on, for sure, or it could have been better, but as for a first social gathering, I guess, since hitting what I would say this low, I think it went overall well. Still a lot of work to do, and work I hope to continue going into 23. So what do I want to try and achieve this year? I guess obviously still overall feel better and back to a position where I feel like I'm myself, whether it's on camera, off camera, whatever it may be, from a stress level, a perspective level, positivity level, whatever it is, getting back to where I think I should be. And then a workflow that works for me. We talked about the schedule of stream numerous times. Keeping a routine with that. I like routines. I think that's just how I am more productive, or can be more positive with certain things, is just having a set schedule, or at least, like, those things to kind of expect or plan for, however you want to phrase it. Getting back into those things, whether it's stream or it's a workflow for side projects, of just like, okay, this is a set time to work on it. And then me, myself, also getting back to being self-sufficient and being diligent with maintaining that. I will admit, over these past years, it's been very lax in that regard, where it's good to be flexible and know, like, hey, this is not the time to work on it, or this is, recognize that you need to rest, you need to relax. That's absolutely important. But I feel like I maybe have went a step too far, and in some regards, I didn't hold myself accountable enough. So it's finding that balance of, like, realizing, hey, I need a break, or that mental space, rest, whatever it is. Acknowledge that, take that, because once again, very important, as a lot of people, at least in the content space, I've noticed, have kind of reached that point. So realizing that, but then also still being positive and at least working on things that, I want to work on, or keep saying I'm going to work on. And I guess this is kind of circling back to that other podcast where I said, oh yeah, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And then we got to a worse point. It's finding the balance there. So, 23, I just want to reset back to where I feel normal, quote unquote. And right now, I feel in a positive mindset that we are heading that direction. Once again, there's still a lot to do, as once again, I just said I felt certain ways recently, but I feel calmer and more positive that I'll be able to take those steps than, say, a few weeks ago, which is good. Looking forward to a lot of things this year. As we talked about last podcast that did air, we have the Disney trip coming up. I'm very excited for that and sharing that experience with, my family that is going. I'm looking forward to getting back into the stream routine. Podcasts, for the most part, have been regularly scheduled, except for the, few weeks here and there. Looking forward to keeping up that routine, the stream routine, getting back to normal. I'm looking forward to that. So there's no big, I would say, New Year's resolutions per se, from like, oh, I'm going to lose weight, or I'm going to start reading, or blah, 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 whatever. Those are all great. And I hope everybody who set those goals for themselves, obviously succeeds in those things. And I've already seen some people from the previous year, like goals they set for themselves, have done fantastic. Like, shout out to hopefully Matt from Hopefully Awesome, losing, weight and doing his exercise goal routine. Huge step for him, or at least achievement for him. That's the term I want. Congrats to him and the others that I've seen make those positive changes for themselves. I hope everybody who has set those goals during this time achieves those, big or small. But yeah, no, I guess, set things there, because listening back to last year's episode around this time frame, like, none of those things were achieved that I set, or at least I don't feel that they were achieved. And it sucks listening back to and being like, oof, yeah, you didn't do any of those. However, I understand, it's, once again, it's that recall, or that, what's the term? Reminding myself it's a process. It's not just going to magically poof and change. So, it's early. There's no, the end time frame isn't tomorrow. It's gonna happen over time. Just be patient with yourself. Still make those strides in positivity and work towards those goals, but realize that, when you get to a point, stop. Don't get to the breaking point like I got to, where everything almost turned into flames, and then I would have been way worse off without things in my life that are important. So, yeah. Okay. Before we go any farther, let's all take a second of clarity before we move into topic 2, and just breathe. Everybody ready?